and welcome to Realeconomy. We're in Vienna to hear from Ukrainian refugees who are looking to find a job here. Ukrainians fleeing Russia's war in their country have the right to live and work in the EU for up to 3 years. But how difficult is it to find a job? And what does this new influx of refugees mean for Europe's workforce and economy? Coming up, Fanny Gore is hearing two women's stories. But first, here's your crash course with an overview.
Since the beginning of Russia's war in Ukraine, more than 7 million Ukrainians have fled their country, although an estimated 2 million have returned home. Most are women and children. They have the right to live and work in the EU for up to 3 years, but face several difficulties finding employment. They can't always speak the language. They need to care for children. Their qualifications may not be recognised, and they may be suffering from severe trauma. To help, the EU is providing language courses and training, as well as Ukrainian language guidelines on how to access the job market. It's helping EU employers understand and recognise Ukrainian qualifications and has translated Europass, where users create a CV for use across Europe into Ukrainian. It's also launching an EU talent pool to match Ukrainian refugee skills with job vacancies.
So what's it like trying to find work here in Austria? Fanny Gore has been finding out.
Over 40,000 Ukrainian refugees are staying in Austria with their children. A temporary residence permit allows them to live and work in the country.
What professional opportunities are there for these people, mainly women with children? And how is Austria helping them? I'm going to be meeting two Ukrainian refugees to tell me about their journey.
We're heading to the south of the country, to the Carinthia region, known for its mountains and lakes. Back in Ukraine, Natalia was a beautician. When she arrived at a local refugee centre, hotel managers here offered her accommodation and a job.
I really like the work here. We signed a contract until September. Then I will look at how the situation is developing in Ukraine.
The tourism industry in Austria is booming, and since 2019, the number of job vacancies in the hospitality sector has doubled, with many employers unable to find staff. For manager Alexandra, offering available rooms and vacant positions to Ukrainian refugees for the summer season was an obvious choice.
There are now around 60 to 70 living here, and 29 of them work for us in various departments. The kitchen, the restaurant and housekeeping, building services, childcare, it's going pretty well. Of course, there's a language barrier, but we can handle it.
Natalia speaks a little English, which enables her to communicate with her colleagues. But juggling her job commitments and care for her 5-year-old daughter is a challenge.
It's difficult. There's a children's playroom here, but it closes at 4:30. If I have a shift that finishes at 11 in the evening, then I need to get someone to babysit.
In Austria, other sectors like health and IT lack qualified people. But though half the Ukrainian refugees registered here have a university degree, immediate access to these positions is difficult. Back in Vienna, I met another Ukrainian refugee, Ghana, a mother of 3 and a German teacher. I join her on her way to a refugee job centre.
The most important thing for me was finding school places for my 3 children. Now I've found that, I'm looking for a job.
Ghana would like to work as a German teacher helping other refugees, but her diploma isn't recognised.
My educational documents have to be translated, legally acknowledged and recognised. It's a problem. It takes a long time.
Staff at the job centre are helping Ghana with this process.
We accompany them to appointments. We translate and help where necessary. The goal is to build a large network with all the involved partners so we can help as quickly as possible.
In the meantime, Ghana, like other refugees registered in Austria, receives the minimum wage and health insurance. So how can Europe meet the challenge of successfully integrating Ukrainian refugees? I put the question to Sandra Leitner, a specialist in migratory movements.
If it's only about the labour market integration, if we factor out cultural aspects, political backlash, we learned a lot, I think, from the previous waves in terms of what really is important to smoothen the transition into the labour market, and that's language, education, recognition of qualifications, and with all those elements in place, I think anyone can be welcome.
Well, to talk more about that, I'm going to speak to the head of the European Network of Public Employment Services, Johannes Kob, who's based here in Vienna. So you're the Director General of the Austrian Public Employment Service. You're also the head of the European Network. How are you handling this influx of Ukrainian refugees at a European level?
The topic came up just a few days after this terrible war started, where our Polish colleagues informed the network that the first Ukrainian will show up, and need help. And this led to a really big wave of solidarity within the public employment services all over Europe. There are some states, Sweden, Germany, Austria also, of course, that have gained a lot of experience in the refugee crisis 2015, 16 and after. For instance, organize a process of the recognition of skills or how to organize individual skill mappings in their mother tongue.
Given that it's unsure how long this war will go on, Ukrainians want to go back home. Given that, how do you integrate them into the workforce in Europe?
Right now, most of the people who come are women with small children. And they have different needs. Of course, the most important is there is a need of childcare. Austria has to organize enough places in schools, in kindergarten, and so on. And the next step then is the entering of the labor market. Of course, there are vacancies and companies that really searching hard for skilled staff and now have the hope of finding, for instance, IT experts from Ukraine, of course. But I don't really like to mix asylum or refugee topics with labor market needs. And yes, and it's better to integrate all of these people than to just pay them social benefits. But at first, and this is the most important, it's a question of humanitarian.
Many thanks indeed for joining us on Realeconomy.